Well, welcome back. Let's jump right in because today we are taking the foundational theory of the CritSit manager and dragging it straight into the trenches. Consider this explainer your practical, no-nonsense survival manual for handling high-pressure Sev-1 calls. I am absolutely thrilled to guide you through this masterclass, dissecting exactly how to maintain control when everything around you feels like it's catching fire. Here's our tactical agenda for today. We'll cover 1. Severity versus urgency. 2. What severity actually means. 3. Urgency, the confusing sibling. 4. The screaming CTO scenario. 5. The cascade of caving. And finally, 6. The perfect CritSit response. All right, Section 1. Severity versus urgency. So we're pulling directly from our source manual here. This section tackles one of the most misunderstood concepts in the entire field of incident management. And you know why it's misunderstood? Because it feels simple, right? And then a CTO joins the call screaming, and suddenly all theoretical knowledge just vacates the building. It just packs its bags and leaves the moment panic hits. We have severity, which is the actual business impact happening right at this exact second. And we have urgency, which is the sheer speed at which action is demanded. It's honestly amazing how quickly we forget the basics under pressure, just blurring these two forces together until everything feels like an absolute apocalypse. Moving right along to Section 2, what severity actually means. Let's lay down the absolute law of incident management right now. Seriously, burn this definition into your memory. As our guide explicitly states, severity describes how serious the business impact of a situation is right now, based on objective criteria. It is not a measure of how loudly someone is complaining. It is not proportional to the seniority of the person requesting it. It is not awarded based on effort, relationship, or how long a customer has been with the company. Let me just add a little pro tip here. Shouting into a headset doesn't magically upgrade a ticket. Severity is an unshakable, objective truth. So how exactly do we measure it? Well, here is your sacred survival checklist. I'm going to read this directly from the manual, literally word for word, because you cannot afford to skip a single beat here. Severity is determined by number of users or customers affected, one person versus a segment versus all customers, whether production service is impacted, live business operations versus development or test, whether a critical business workflow is blocked, things like checkout, login, trading, fulfillment, billing, revenue impact, active financial transactions being prevented or delayed, compliance or regulatory exposure, data breach risk, SLA breach, regulatory reporting, workaround availability, is there any relief, even if it's imperfect, duration of disruption, minutes versus hours versus sustained, risk of expansion, is the blast radius growing, and finally, customer relationship sensitivity. Though, keep in mind, this influences communication, not severity. Now let's see how those exact criteria apply out in the wild. Our source material puts it perfectly. A complete production outage of a payment processing system affecting every customer transaction is almost certainly Sev-1. A development environment behaving oddly for a single internal user on a Friday afternoon is almost certainly not. Both situations deserve attention, only one deserves CritSit posture. I mean, come on, a Friday afternoon dev glitch? Let's put the fire extinguisher down, folks. Okay, Section 3, Urgency, the confusing sibling. Now we're moving into the trickiest part of the explainer, the spot where even seasoned veterans completely trip up. Let's look at urgency. The source defines it perfectly. Urgency describes how quickly action is needed, independent of actual business impact. You see, something can be extremely urgent without being Sev-1. This is a nuance that catches even experienced support managers off guard, particularly when they're dealing with emotionally charged customers. Essentially, urgency tells you how fast to run, while severity tells you how many people you actually need to wake up in the middle of the night. Let's walk through this incredibly stressful, yet honestly all too common timeline. Here's the classic example directly from the text. A customer has a product go live scheduled for Monday morning. Today is Thursday. Their non-production integration environment has a configuration issue preventing their developers from completing testing. The customer is upset, the deadline is close, and they're messaging every person they know at your company. Is this urgent? Absolutely. Does it deserve priority handling, dedicated engineering attention, and regular communication? Yes, completely. Does it meet Sev-1 criteria? No. Unless production is down, customers are broadly affected, and live business operations are blocked. Urgency tells you how fast to move. Severity tells you how loud to sound the alarm and how many people to wake up. If you confuse them, you either cry wolf or you completely miss the real fire. So the absolutely crucial point here is how you respond to that frantic energy. You kind of got to channel your inner Zen radio DJ. A good CritSit manager separates the two concepts calmly and explicitly. They'd say something like, I understand the deadline urgency, and we will treat this with matching pace. Based on current impact, this does not meet Sev-1 criteria because production operations are not broadly blocked. We will manage this as high-priority Sev-2/P1 with dedicated ownership and regular updates until the blocker is cleared. Just flawless, right? Calm, crystal clear, and totally in control.
Which brings us to Section 4, the screaming CTO scenario.
Take a deep breath with me because we are entering the most dramatic part of our masterclass. You really need to absorb this slowly because this scenario will happen to you, possibly multiple times, probably before you've even finished your morning coffee. Picture this. A customer CTO joins the bridge call. They are not calm. Their team is facing a go-live deadline on Friday. Their non-production staging environment is unstable, and their internal team is blocked from testing. The CTO says, with the chaotic energy of someone who's already had 3 meetings today and 0 victories, this is Sev-1. I need all hands on this right now. I don't understand why this is taking so long. This is unacceptable.
And then, the fallout. The bridge goes silent. An engineer suddenly becomes deeply, deeply interested in the texture of their keyboard. Another person starts typing out a message that they will literally never send. This specific moment, the silence right after the CTO speaks, is where the CritSit manager either earns enormous respect or loses their credibility entirely. It's so true, isn't it? Suddenly, the spacebar is the most fascinating object in the known universe.
All right, Section 5, the cascade of caving. This right here is the exact crossroads where you either stand your ground as a hero or you fold, taking your entire organization down with you. What actually happens if the CritSit manager caves and agrees to Sev-1 just because the CTO is upset? Well, here is the cascade. First, engineering resources get pulled from actual Sev-1 situations elsewhere. Second, severity inflation becomes organizational culture. Third, the next time a sales rep, an account manager, or an impatient customer calls something Sev-1, there is a precedent. And fourth, the severity model completely collapses, and with it, the ability to distinguish what actually deserves an emergency response. You cave once, and suddenly a typo in an email signature is treated like a global emergency. And finally, Section 6, the perfect CritSit response. Let's talk about how to prevent that nightmare. We are going to arm you with the exact script you need. I really want you to absorb the sheer power of this firm, empathetic boundary. Here's what the CritSit manager should say, calmly, clearly, without apology, but with genuine empathy. I completely understand the concern, especially given the Friday deadline. That is real pressure, and we take it seriously. We agree this needs our immediate priority attention. Based on the current information, this specific situation does not meet our Sev-1 criteria because production service is not down and live customer operations are not broadly blocked. What I can commit to: we will manage this as high-priority Sev-2/P1, assign the most appropriate technical resource, and give you updates at regular intervals until the blocker is cleared. You will not be left wondering what's happening. Now, why is that reply so bulletproof? Well, because that response does 3 things simultaneously. It validates the CTO's concern without dismissing their frustration. It protects the integrity of the severity model without being defensive about it. And it commits to concrete action and communication that the CTO can actually hold you to. And that brings us to our final unyielding truth for this explainer. The CTO may still be unhappy. And you know what? That is completely acceptable. The CritSit manager's job is not to leave everyone emotionally delighted. The job is to be fair, factual, respectful, and operationally effective. Those things are always compatible. So I leave you with this thought. Are you ready to be fair, factual, respectful, and operationally effective, even if everyone isn't emotionally delighted? Keep these lessons handy, stand your ground, and I will see you in the next explainer.